Welcome to Zoe Stories. My boss said dress up for work. Now I'm his secretary. I had always been the quiet one. At 20, I kept my head down, blending into the background, avoiding confrontation, avoiding attention. College had been a blur of studying, avoiding parties, and silently watching life pass by. My job at Harrison and Company, a prestigious marketing firm, was supposed to be my chance to finally step into the real world, responsibly, professionally, and as myself. But then came Mr. Harrison, my boss. Sharp, commanding, impeccably dressed, and unnervingly observant. From day one, I had noticed how he seemed to see through everything, my anxiety, my hesitations, even the smallest tremor in my hand. It was both unsettling and strangely thrilling. It started with a casual comment. Your presentation yesterday was lacking something. Maybe confidence? Maybe style. I laughed nervously, hoping he was joking. But then he fixed me with that piercing gaze and said, "Tomorrow, I want you to dress appropriately. You know, professional. Presentable. It matters." I nodded, assuming he meant a normal office dress code. But the next morning, when I arrived, I realized appropriate had a completely different meaning in his mind. On my desk, there was a small note handwritten. "Check the package I left for you. Consider it part of your new responsibilities." My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were delicate blouses, skirts, stockings, and a set of makeup, all pristine and fragrant. My stomach churned. A voice behind me made me jump. You found it," he said, his smile tight but amused. "It's time you learn the importance of presentation and obedience." I wanted to protest, to refuse, to say this was insane. But something about the way he spoke, calm, dominant, commanding, froze me in place. I felt an unfamiliar thrill, a sick mix of fear and curiosity. "Put it on," he instructed. "No excuses. Your first impression matters more than you realize." I shook my head. I can't." "Yes, you can. And you will. Or you'll find yourself replaced." His tone was firm, leaving no room for argument. I glanced at the mirror in his office and felt my chest tighten. Reflected in the glass was a timid, unsure boy. But he didn't look back at me with the same innocence I had felt moments ago. Instead, I saw fear, anticipation, and something darker, a prelude to change. I tried to resist. I closed the box, stepping back. But he approached, calm and controlling. One hand rested lightly on my shoulder, the other gesturing to the contents. "Don't fight it," he murmured. "This is not punishment. It's education. And after today, you'll understand what I mean by appropriate." The words sank into me, heavy, suffocating, and inescapable. I felt my old self slipping away before I had even begun. By the time I returned to my small apartment that evening, my hands were shaking, my chest tight with anxiety and excitement. I placed the clothes and makeup on my bed, staring at them like a forbidden invitation. A tiny, insidious thought crept into my mind. What if I actually enjoyed this? I shook it off immediately, trying to cling to the boy I was. But as I unpacked the silky blouse, the soft skirt, and the delicate stockings, I felt a strange warmth, a flutter in my chest, and a flicker of curiosity I couldn't ignore. Tomorrow, I realized nothing would ever be the same. The next morning, my apartment felt smaller, heavier, as if it knew what awaited me. The box of clothes lay open on my bed, delicate fabrics that seemed almost haunting in their fragility. I could hear my own heart pounding in my ears as I reached for the blouse. Silk. Soft, fragile, almost sinful to touch. My fingers trembled as I lifted it. Then came the skirt, short, elegant, perfectly tailored for a female body I did not yet have. My hands shook as I unfolded the stockings, smooth as water under my touch. And then the makeup. It smelled faintly of roses and vanilla. Lipstick, foundation, blush, mascara. I had only ever seen these in movies or on strangers, never imagined applying them myself. But my hands moved almost of their own accord, guided by some nervous, instinctive curiosity. I followed the instructions, careful, hesitant, fumbling. And as I applied foundation and blush, something strange began to happen. My features softened, my cheekbones seemed higher, my eyes wider. The boy I had been blurred with every brushstroke. By the time I finished, I barely recognized myself. The mirror reflected a delicate, feminine face. My face, yes, but altered, transformed. My heart raced, and a flush crept across my cheeks. I wanted to hide, run, scream, but part of me thrilled at the reflection. A knock at the door startled me. "It's time," his voice said through the intercom.
Calm.
Commanding. Dominant. I dressed as instructed. Blouse tucked neatly into the skirt, stockings pulled tight, heels buckled. Every step to the elevator felt like walking on a stage, fragile and exposed. I clutched the strap of my bag, aware of every movement, every sound. When I arrived at the office, he was waiting, impeccably dressed as always. His eyes swept over me slowly, deliberately, a mixture of appraisal and amusement. "Good," he said softly. "Very good.
You see?
It's not so hard." I wanted to argue. I wanted to flee. But his gaze pinned me, and my body betrayed me, shaking, exposed, and obedient. He guided me to my desk, seated me carefully, adjusted my posture, and whispered, "Remember, confidence isn't optional, even if it feels unnatural." Throughout the day, every task was a lesson. Typing carefully so my nails didn't make noise, walking gracefully to the printer, even how I spoke on the phone, softened, polite, precise. Every misstep was corrected, gently at first, then with subtle reminders of control. Lunch break brought a test. He suggested a stroll to the cafe nearby. The streets were crowded, every glance from strangers like a spotlight on my humiliation. I could feel my cheeks burning, my pulse pounding. People stared, some whispered, others smiled. I wanted to disappear. "Keep walking," he instructed, hand brushing my back lightly. "Remember, she is seen, and she will be admired." I stumbled, my heels unsteady, and felt a flush of embarrassment wash over me. Yet, beneath it, a strange thrill sparked, being noticed, being fragile, being beautiful. By the end of the day, I was exhausted, humiliated, and somehow exhilarated. He watched me as I left, eyes calm, satisfied, almost predatory. "Tomorrow," he said quietly, "we expand her presence. The world will see more, and you will understand who you are becoming." That night, in front of my mirror, I studied myself again. The boy I had been, timid, invisible, ordinary, felt like a distant memory. In his place stood someone delicate, exposed, and undeniably feminine. And for the first time, I didn't hate it entirely. The morning air hit me like a wave of fire and ice. My heart was hammering as I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the hem of my skirt one more time. Today wasn't just another day at the office. It was the first public test, orchestrated entirely by him. The blouse was silky against my skin, hugging my shoulders delicately. My skirt swayed with every step, my stockings stretched smoothly over my legs, and my heels, clacked sharply on the floor as I practiced walking. I caught sight of myself in the mirror and froze. The girl staring back wasn't just a disguise. Her eyes were wide, lips soft and pink, cheeks flushed naturally from nerves. I barely recognized myself. A knock on the door shattered my reflection. "Ready." His voice was calm, yet carried an unmistakable undertone of command. I swallowed hard, nodding, though my throat felt dry. "Good," he said. "Remember, confidence is essential. Walk like you own the world. Speak softly. Move gracefully. And don't falter." We stepped into the elevator. The silence between us was suffocating. I could feel his gaze on me, almost seeing through every thought, every hesitation. My hands clenched in my lap. Every step I took felt fragile, as if I were balancing on glass. Outside, the streets were alive. People walked briskly, talking, laughing, oblivious to the storm that I was about to face. Every glance that hit me felt magnified. Eyes lingered on my legs, my blouse, my hair. Some smiled politely, some whispered to companions. My cheeks burned with embarrassment. "Keep walking," he whispered, brushing lightly against my back. "Remember, she is admired, even if it feels impossible." Impossible. That word echoed in my mind. Each step in heels was agony. Each sway of my hips felt exaggerated and unnatural. My stomach churned, my pulse thundered. I wanted to turn around and run home, run back to the boy I had been. But his hand rested lightly on my shoulder, and I froze. The cafe was our first stop. A small, bustling place with people chatting, laughing, scrolling on phones. He guided me to a table, seating me gently. "Order," he instructed. "With grace. With poise. And remember, the world sees her." I struggled to speak, voice higher than usual, timid yet practiced. I stumbled over the words, spilling some of my nervousness with a tiny cough. He corrected me softly but firmly, adjusting my posture, my expression, even the tilt of my head. A man nearby glanced at me, then back at his companion. "She looks really good," he whispered. My stomach twisted. Shock, humiliation, and a strange, forbidden thrill washed over me. His words were meant for someone else, and yet I felt them like daggers and caresses at the same time. "Don't forget to smile," he said quietly. His hand brushed my hair back from my face. Beautiful girls smiled naturally. "Practice it." I smiled, forced at first, then slowly letting the feeling grow. And when I did, I realized the power it carried. The attention, the admiration, it made my chest tighten, my legs tremble, my entire body respond in a way I had never imagined. After the cafe, we walked through a crowded mall. Every store, every passerby felt like a test. He guided me through the throng, correcting my steps, softening my voice, instructing me on how to stand, how to hold my purse, how to walk past strangers without faltering. Then came a small humiliation. Someone almost bumped into me and whispered, "Nice outfit, miss." My heart sank, my face flamed. He noticed and gave me a sharp, yet gentle reminder. "Own it. She is admired. She is seen. She is hers." By the time we returned to the office, I was exhausted. My legs ached from the heels, my chest burned from constant attention, and my mind was a whirlwind of shame, thrill, and confusion. Yet, as I looked in the mirror one more time in the office restroom, I noticed something terrifying. Part of me enjoyed it. The embarrassment, the attention, the whispered admiration, they awakened a side of me I didn't recognize. He was waiting outside the door. His eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Good work today," he said softly, almost approvingly. "Tomorrow we go further. And then she will truly emerge." I shivered. Not entirely from cold. My mind raced. The boy I had been felt farther away than ever. And the girl I had become, I wasn't sure if I wanted to resist her. The morning light spilled across my apartment, soft and deceptive, hiding the storm that awaited me. My body still ached from yesterday's ordeal. The clack of heels, the burning awareness of every eye on me, the suffocating tension of being constantly observed. And yet, my reflection in the mirror pulled me in like a magnet. The girl in the glass was becoming familiar, but not entirely mine. Her eyes sparkled, delicate features highlighted by the soft makeup I had learned to apply with trembling hands. My blouse clung to shoulders that now felt sharper, my skirt curved around hips that seemed to belong to someone else entirely. Every detail screamed femininity, and yet, I still felt a boy hiding beneath the surface. A text from him blinked on my phone. "Today we perfect her."
Voice.
Walk. Gestures. She must be flawless. I swallowed hard. The word flawless sent chills down my spine. When I arrived at the office, he was waiting, calm and commanding as always. He led me to a private room, one I hadn't noticed before. Mirrors lined the walls, reflecting my figure from every angle. "Today, you will learn to be seen," he said, voice soft but unwavering. "Every movement, every glance, every breath must be deliberate. She is observed by the world, by me, by herself. The first lesson was posture. He adjusted my shoulders, my spine, the way I held my head. His hands were firm but gentle, guiding me into a delicate, feminine poise. Every correction was precise. My body ached from the unfamiliar tension, but I obeyed, fearful of disappointing him. Next came walking. He placed my feet in position and had me step forward slowly. He corrected the tilt of my hips, the swing of my arms, the rhythm of my heels. Each step felt alien, exaggerated, and humiliating. Sweat pricked my forehead, and my legs trembled. "You must look effortless," he whispered. Effortless. Not like a boy pretending, but as herself. Then came the voice. He had me read aloud from a magazine article, softening my tone, elongating vowels, curving consonants. Each mistake earned a pointed correction, his eyes locking onto mine, dissecting, measuring. My cheeks burned. My mind spun. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. But my body, strangely, responded in ways I didn't understand. A blush creeping over my chest, a fluttering in my stomach, a pulse that seemed too loud. By mid-afternoon, he introduced gestures, the tilt of the head, the sweep of fingers through hair, the delicate way to sip coffee or adjust a blouse. Every detail was scrutinized, every movement repeated until I felt the fragile, burning humiliation of being corrected over and over. But with it came strange pride, a thrill, a sick, addictive pleasure in being molded, exposed, and perfected under his watchful eyes. He paused, studying me critically. "You're improving," he said, almost approvingly. "But remember, perfection isn't just physical. It's emotional. She must feel seen. She must feel desired. She must feel hers." The word hers echoed in my mind. What did it mean? I was still me, right?
The boy?
And yet, every correction, every lesson, every gaze from him chipped away at that identity. By the end of the day, I was exhausted, trembling, and flushed from head to toe. I had walked, spoken, and gestured like her for hours. I caught my reflection in the mirror one last time. The girl in front of me was delicate, poised, undeniably feminine, and terrifyingly seductive. As I left the office, he handed me a small note. "Practice tonight. She must be flawless tomorrow in public." I walked home, heels clicking on the pavement, every eye in the street feeling magnified. Each glance made my chest flutter, each whisper felt like a spotlight. And somewhere deep inside, I realized I was starting to crave it. The attention, the admiration, the humiliation, it was intoxicating. That night, alone in my apartment, I studied myself in the mirror. The boy I had been seemed further away than ever. The girl I had become felt terrifyingly real. And I couldn't tell if I wanted to resist her, or if I had already begun to lose the boy forever. The next morning, my alarm felt heavier than usual. My legs ached from yesterday's endless lessons in heels, my arms stiff from posture practice, and my chest felt tight with anxiety. Yet, the box of clothes and makeup awaited me, reminding me that today was no longer private. Today, she would face the world. I dressed meticulously, following every instruction he had given me. The blouse was silk, hugging my shoulders and collarbone delicately. The skirt swayed with each step, perfectly tailored to create the illusion of curves I didn't naturally have. My stockings clung smoothly to my legs, and my heels elevated me uncomfortably, forcing careful, deliberate movements. I applied my makeup slowly, brushing on foundation to soften my jawline, applying blush to high cheekbones, curling my eyelashes, and coating them with mascara. Each stroke felt alien yet intimate. By the time I finished, the boy I had been was nearly gone. The girl in the mirror had wide, innocent eyes, flushed cheeks, soft lips, and a fragile elegance that made me both proud and terrified. A knock on the door startled me. His calm, commanding voice followed. "Are you ready?" Today she steps into the world fully. I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting. The word fully carried weight. He was not merely talking about appearance, he meant exposure, attention, judgment. We stepped outside together. The streets were busy, alive with morning commuters. Each glance that met mine felt magnified, each whisper a piercing spotlight. My cheeks burned, my pulse raced, and every step in heels felt like walking a tightrope over fire. "Keep your head high," he instructed, lightly brushing my back. "She is seen. She is admired. She is hers." I stumbled slightly, my ankles unsteady. He corrected my posture immediately, his hands firm but gentle. Every movement, every sway of my hips, every tilt of my head was scrutinized, adjusted, perfected. We entered a small cafe for breakfast. I could feel the eyes of strangers on me as we walked in. People whispered, some smiled, some turned to stare. My chest tightened, embarrassment burning, yet there was a forbidden thrill I could not deny. "Sit," he instructed softly, guiding me to a corner table. "Order confidently. Speak clearly. Remember, she is seen." My hands shook as I held the menu. My voice trembled as I spoke, higher pitched than usual. I fumbled with the words, mispronounced a few, and felt my cheeks flush. He adjusted my posture again, whispered corrections, and even touched my hair lightly. I wanted to shrink into myself, to disappear, yet his presence held me in place, commanding obedience and submission. A man at a nearby table glanced at me, then whispered to his companion, "She's really pretty." My heart leapt. Shock, humiliation, and a strange, illicit thrill coursed through me. I wanted to run, hide, and yet a part of me, the girl in the mirror, wanted to smile, to bask in the attention, to feel seen. After breakfast, he guided me through a crowded shopping district. Every passerby was a test. Each glance, each whisper, each unintended compliment made my chest ache with embarrassment and thrill. My heels clicked on the pavement, and I felt painfully exposed, like a fragile doll under the eyes of the world. Someone almost bumped into me and said, "Nice outfit, miss." My face flamed with shame. He noticed and whispered firmly, "Own it. She is admired. She is seen. She is hers." The words echoed in my mind. The boy I had been felt farther away than ever. The girl I had become felt frighteningly real, fragile, and beautiful. By the time we returned to the office, my body was exhausted, my legs trembling, my heart pounding. Yet in the mirror I saw her me, delicate, poised, undeniably feminine, and utterly exposed. He gave me a final instruction before leaving. "Tomorrow we take her further. Public events, more attention, more exposure. And by then, she will begin to forget who she was." I closed my eyes, my reflection staring back at me. The boy I had been seemed like a distant memory. The girl in the mirror, fragile and trembling, had already begun to claim me. The following week began like a blur. Each morning, I woke trembling, aware that the moment I stepped outside, the world, and he, would see her, the girl I was becoming. My reflection in the mirror no longer shocked me as much as it used to. The delicate face, the flushed cheeks, the wide, expressive eyes, she was slowly imprinting herself onto my soul. He didn't just control my appearance anymore. He began to shape my emotions, my reactions, my inner life. "Sit," he said one afternoon in his office, gesturing to the chair across from him. His eyes were calm, unreadable. "We need to talk about her, and you." I felt my chest tighten. "I don't understand." "Of course you don't," he murmured, a small, almost cruel smile playing on his lips. "You're still learning. You're still clinging to him, the boy. But he's fading, isn't he? Every time you step outside, every time someone calls her pretty, every time you blush or stumble, she grows stronger. And he weakens." I shook my head. I'm still me." "Are you?" His voice softened, almost hypnotic. "Look at her." He gestured to the mirror across the room. I approached hesitantly. My reflection stared back, soft lips slightly parted, hair falling delicately across my shoulders, eyes wide with anxiety and something else, desire, confusion, curiosity. "She is beautiful," he whispered. "And she trusts me, doesn't she?" My throat tightened. I wanted to deny it, to assert my boyhood, my autonomy. But a strange warmth spread in my chest. I felt a flutter in my stomach, an acknowledgement I couldn't fully control. He stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on my shoulder. You're learning. You're fragile.
She needs me.
And you need to accept it. I felt my knees weaken. My mind screamed to resist, but the warmth, the thrill, the forbidden pleasure of being seen, guided, and corrected made me pause. Over the next few days, he orchestrated private lessons. How to apply makeup flawlessly, how to walk gracefully in heels for hours, how to speak softly but command attention. Each session was exhausting and humiliating, yet strangely intoxicating. He introduced me to subtle psychological tests. Sometimes he would compliment me softly, tenderly, then correct me harshly for a minor misstep. The push and pull made my chest ache, my heart race, my mind spiral. I was learning obedience, dependence, and submission, and part of me craved it. One afternoon, as I struggled with a particularly high pair of heels, I almost fell. He caught me effortlessly, steadying my hips. Our faces were close. "See," he murmured. "She can't do it alone. She needs guidance and care. And don't you feel it? That trust." My face burned. My chest fluttered. I wanted to step back, to reassert control, but my legs shook, my body leaned into his hands despite my protests. The boy inside me recoiled. The girl emerging inside me trembled and ached. He continued, whispering quietly, guiding my fingers as I applied eyeliner, adjusting my posture as I practiced walking, instructing me on the delicate tilt of my head. Every touch, every word, every correction was layered with sweetness and subtle dominance. I was being reshaped, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, psychologically. By the end of that week, I felt dizzy, exhausted, and raw. My identity wavered like a reflection in disturbed water. The boy I had been seemed distant, almost imaginary. The girl I was becoming, fragile, delicate, beautiful, and dependent, was all too real. That night, alone in my apartment, I stared in the mirror. I touched her face, soft, delicate, flushed, and felt a tear slip down my cheek. Not sadness. Not fully. Something deeper.
Loss. Desire.
Confusion. Acceptance. Somewhere deep inside, I realized I didn't just fear losing myself. I feared losing her too. The girl who had started to feel like more than a disguise. The morning air was crisp, almost cruelly indifferent, as I adjusted my skirt and smoothed my hair one last time. Today wasn't just another walk in the streets or a quiet cafe visit. No, today was a showcase. He had chosen a busy downtown shopping street, bustling with weekend crowds. Everyone would see her, the girl I was becoming. My reflection in the mirror was mesmerizing and terrifying. She stared back at me, delicate, poised, wide-eyed, flushed with nervous anticipation. I traced her soft jawline, lips pink and slightly parted, and felt a shiver run down my spine. A text from him blinked on my phone. "Remember," she has observed, "every gaze, every whisper is part of her lesson. Embrace it." I swallowed hard, trying to steel myself. But as I stepped into the elevator, my heels clicking against the floor, my chest tightened with dread and excitement. The street outside was alive. Families, couples, strangers moving in every direction. Every glance felt magnified. Every whispered comment felt directed at me. My cheeks burned, my pulse raced, and my stomach twisted. "Walk confidently," he instructed softly, brushing lightly against my back. "She is admired. She is hers." Each step was agony and ecstasy. My legs trembled, heels clicking sharply, skirt swaying, blouse hugging every curve. I felt painfully exposed, yet a small, forbidden thrill ran through me with each compliment whispered by strangers or a lingering glance. We entered a boutique for a quick shopping lesson. Mirrors lined the walls, reflecting my every movement. I tried to act natural, adjusting scarves, glancing at clothing racks, walking gracefully. He observed me silently, occasionally whispering corrections. Posture. Chin up. Shoulders back. Smile naturally. A woman nearby turned to her friend, whispering, "She's stunning, look at her." My chest tightened, heat flooding my face. Humiliation mixed with a strange, illicit pleasure. I wanted to hide, disappear, deny it, and yet, part of me, the girl in the mirror, wanted to smile, to bask in the attention, to be seen. After the boutique, we walked through the bustling pedestrian plaza. Street performers, vendors, and shoppers created a constant stream of eyes on her. Every glance, every comment, every accidental brush of a passerby felt magnified, exposing me to the world in ways I had never imagined. "Keep walking," he instructed. "Remember, she is admired. She is beautiful. She is hers." My cheeks burned, my legs ached, and my heart pounded. I stumbled slightly in my heels. He corrected me gently, brushing his hand along my arm, tilting my chin up. My pulse skyrocketed. The line between fear and thrill blurred. A small group of young men passed by, laughing, commenting quietly. My stomach twisted with embarrassment. I could feel the old me screaming, but the girl I had become, fragile, delicate, poised, felt alive, exhilarated, and dangerously addictive. By the time we returned to the office, my body was exhausted, my legs trembling, my chest tight with emotion. But in the mirror, she stared back at me, flawless, delicate, undeniably feminine. He gave me a soft smile, almost approvingly. "Good. You handled it. Tomorrow we begin her final lesson. She will face not just strangers, but her peers. And she will understand what it means to belong to herself and to me." That night, alone in my apartment, I traced her face in the mirror again. The boy I had been seemed like a distant memory. The girl I had become, fragile, beautiful, and exposed, was more real than I could have imagined. The morning felt heavier than usual. My reflection in the mirror stared back at me, fragile and delicate, yet undeniably feminine. The girl I had become had her wide, innocent eyes, flushed cheeks, soft lips, and graceful posture. Every detail, every curve, every line screamed someone new. But underneath, the boy I had once been still flickered like a fragile shadow. Today, he had planned something new. A social gathering with coworkers, people I had known before the transformation began. People who had known me as a boy. People who would see her and recognize something familiar. I dressed carefully, meticulously. The silk blouse clung to my shoulders, the skirt swayed perfectly around my hips, and my heels elevated me, forcing careful, deliberate movements. Makeup softened my jawline, highlighted my cheeks, widened my eyes. I was beautiful, fragile, perfect, and terrified. "Remember," he whispered as I stepped into the elevator, "she is seen. She is admired. She is hers. And today, she faces her past." The office party was in a glass-walled lounge, overlooking the city. The crowd of familiar faces laughed, mingled, chatted. My heart pounded in my chest. Every step toward the lounge felt like walking into a storm. Then it happened. A familiar laugh, a familiar voice, and my chest froze. Someone was approaching, someone who had known me as a boy. Wait, is that? I turned slowly. My stomach twisted into knots. There he was, a former classmate, someone I hadn't seen in years. His eyes widened, recognition dawning like a flash of lightning. She looks just like... His words trailed off, and the room seemed to hush around me. Panic clawed at my chest. Heat rushed to my face. I wanted to disappear. I wanted to revert to the boy I had been, to hide from their gazes, to retreat to the safety of my apartment. But he was there, my boss, calm, commanding, placing a reassuring hand on my back. "She is hers," he whispered. "Own it." I swallowed hard, my voice trembling. Hello." The former classmate's eyes scanned me, confusion and shock mixing with curiosity. I don't understand. You used to be, right?" "Yes," I whispered, voice high and soft, betraying the girl I had become. I am." The words felt impossible. The girl I was standing in front of them felt fragile, delicate, and painfully exposed. Yet underneath the fear, a strange thrill ran through me, the thrill of being seen, of being beautiful, of being admired. He continued, his presence steady and dominating. She is learning. She is growing. And she is hers. Remember that. I felt their eyes on me, judgmental yet intrigued. The room seemed to spin. I wanted to flee, to disappear, to reclaim the boy I had been. But the girl in the mirror, the girl I had been practicing for weeks, trembled and leaned into the attention, fragile and radiant. A compliment, soft, almost reluctant, was whispered from someone across the room. My cheeks burned. My pulse raced. Humiliation mixed with exhilaration. And then he leaned closer.
See?
She is noticed. She is admired. She is hers. And soon she will forget who she was completely. By the end of the evening, I was exhausted, trembling, and raw. My reflection in the lounge's glass wall stared back at me, soft, flushed, beautiful, undeniably feminine. The boy I had been seemed further away than ever. Alone in the elevator afterward, I whispered to myself, voice quivering. Who am I really? The morning sun streamed through the blinds, casting golden patterns across my bedroom floor. I sat before the mirror, adjusting my hair, applying the final touches of makeup, and trying to steady my trembling hands. The girl in the reflection was flawless. Delicate cheeks, soft pink lips, wide, innocent eyes framed by long lashes. But my heart was heavy, my thoughts spinning. The memory of yesterday's social confrontation lingered like a shadow. Seeing someone from my past recognize me, even partially, had been terrifying, but there was something else buried underneath the fear. A subtle thrill, a pulse of exhilaration, a sense that the girl I had become could command attention in ways the boy never could. I barely had time to think before he arrived. Calm, commanding, yet unnervingly tender. Today, he said softly, she meets someone special. Someone who will see her differently. And she must navigate it with grace.
Grace.
A word that carried weight. Every lesson, every correction, every glance from him had been preparing me for this moment. We entered the office, and there he was, tall, casually dressed, with a smile that made my chest tighten. His eyes scanned me for only a moment, yet the glance pierced through layers I didn't know existed. Hi, he said softly, and my voice faltered. Hi, delicate, feminine. Hello, I whispered back, feeling the weight of every syllable. He smiled warmly. You look different. Beautiful. I mean, really beautiful. My cheeks burned. Embarrassment surged through me, yet beneath it, a strange flutter, the thrill of being seen, noticed, and admired, tangled with confusion. My pulse raced, heart hammering, mind spiraling. He lingered near my desk for a few minutes, casually chatting, teasing, asking questions. Every word, every glance, every small laugh made my body respond in ways I didn't understand. The girl in the mirror was trembling, flushed, alive, and aware of a tension that the boy inside had never experienced. He leaned slightly closer, brushing a strand of hair from my face.
I don't know something about you.
You're captivating. My chest tightened, and I could barely breathe. Part of me, the boy, wanted to pull away, to reclaim control, to deny the feelings awakening inside me. But the girl, fragile and delicate, leaned into the warmth, the attention, the forbidden connection. Throughout the day, he found small ways to interact, to test my composure. A casual compliment here, a teasing glance there, each one unraveling the tension inside me. I stumbled over words, blushed uncontrollably, and felt the heat rise across my chest and face. By evening, I was exhausted, trembling from head to toe. Alone in the restroom, I stared at her reflection. The girl's eyes were wide, cheeks flushed, lips soft, and posture delicate. But inside, a storm raged. The boy I had been was fading, dissolving under layers of makeup, heels, and attention. And yet, part of me wanted to stay. Part of me craved the thrill, the attention, the forbidden attraction. Part of me wondered if I could ever return to being him. He had whispered once as I left the restroom, she will learn to enjoy it, to crave it, to become herself fully. The words echoed in my mind, and I shivered. Could I resist? Or had I already begun to lose myself completely? The morning sunlight spilled across the apartment, soft and golden, but it couldn't warm the tension coiling in my chest. Today felt different. Today wasn't about practicing heels, perfecting makeup, or walking gracefully. Today he had planned a test, a temptation. I dressed carefully, choosing the blouse he had recommended yesterday, soft, delicate silk that hugged my shoulders and tapered at my waist. My skirt flowed around my hips, accentuating curves that felt foreign yet undeniably mine. Heels elevated me painfully, forcing deliberate, careful steps. Makeup was flawless, highlighting every feature that had become hers, not mine. When he arrived, his calm, commanding presence filled the room. Today, he said softly, she faces attention in a way that will challenge her control, her identity, and her desire. She will see how powerful she can be. I swallowed hard, dread and excitement twisting inside me. He wasn't merely testing appearance, he was testing something deeper. My emotions, my control, my growing dependence on her. We walked into the crowded cafe, and immediately, all eyes seemed to find her. Strangers whispered compliments, lingering glances, subtle smiles that made my cheeks burn and pulse race. I stumbled slightly, self-conscious, embarrassed, yet part of me, the girl in the mirror, leaned into the attention, soaking it in despite the shame. Then he introduced someone new, a young man, tall, confident, and polite, who engaged her in conversation. My chest twisted as I watched his eyes linger, appreciating her, me, fully. Each smile he gave, each compliment he offered, made heat rise in my cheeks. My mind screamed for retreat, for the boy to reclaim control, yet my body trembled, responding in ways I hadn't anticipated. He likes her, he whispered, almost casually, as he guided me toward a table. Notice how she affects him, how she makes him respond. And notice how it makes you feel. I clenched my fists under the table, heart hammering. Confusion, shame, thrill, and desire warred inside me. I wanted to flee. I wanted to retreat to the safety of my old identity. But the girl in the mirror, flushed and delicate, wanted to linger, to feel seen, desired, admired. The conversation continued, the young man asking questions, laughing gently at my responses, complimenting my appearance. Every word felt like a spark, igniting a strange, forbidden thrill in my chest. I caught myself leaning closer, laughing lightly, enjoying the attention in ways I had never imagined. Good, he murmured from beside me, voice soft, controlling, commanding. She is learning. She is noticing herself. She is feeling what it is to be desired, admired, irresistible, hers. I shivered, heat pooling across my chest. The line between fear and thrill blurred. The boy I had been tried to assert control, tried to demand I resist, but the girl, delicate, beautiful, radiant, leaned into the experience, trembling, flushed, alive. By the time we left the cafe, my legs ached from the heels, my cheeks were flushed, my heart pounding with both embarrassment and illicit pleasure. Alone in the elevator, I stared at my reflection. The girl's wide eyes looked back at me, flushed, delicate, and trembling, yet undeniably radiant. Who am I really? I whispered to the mirror, voice soft, fragile. And do I even want to know? The morning air felt heavy, thick with tension as I stared at my reflection. My hands trembled slightly while adjusting the silk blouse and pencil skirt he had carefully selected for me. The heels were higher than anything I had dared before, forcing me to move deliberately, to think about each step. My makeup was flawless, highlighting every feature he had trained me to perfect. Soft cheeks, wide eyes, flushed lips, and a fragile elegance I could no longer deny. Today wasn't just practice. Today was a public test. A large group had been invited to the office under the pretense of a corporate workshop. He had arranged for me, her, to be the focal point. Every eye would be on me, every movement scrutinized, every reaction judged. As we entered the main hall, my pulse spiked. The room was buzzing with conversation. Chairs were arranged theater-style, and at the front, a small stage had been set. He gave me a reassuring yet commanding glance. "Today," he whispered, "she will perform. Every gesture, every word, every glance is hers to master. And she will learn who she truly belongs to." I swallowed hard, feeling my knees tremble. My heels clicked sharply against the polished floor as he guided me to the stage. The crowd's chatter quieted as all eyes turned toward me. I felt exposed, every inch of me visible, every misstep magnified. "Good morning," I said softly, my voice high and delicate. It trembled slightly, betraying my nervousness. A few polite claps responded, but the attention was overwhelming. My chest tightened, my stomach knotted. I wanted to flee, to escape the scrutiny, to return to the safety of my old self. He stepped closer, whispering, "She is hers. She is seen. She is admired. Remember that." The words hit me like a physical force. Each compliment from strangers, each lingering glance, each subtle reaction felt like a test, and I was failing and succeeding all at once. I stumbled slightly on the heels. He guided my hips with a gentle touch, repositioned my shoulders, and corrected the tilt of my chin. As I moved across the stage, answering questions and interacting with attendees, humiliation and thrill tangled inside me. A man in the front row whispered, "She's really pretty." My cheeks burned. The girl in the mirror leaned into the warmth of the comment, thrilled and terrified simultaneously. During a break, he guided me to the side. "Notice how they react. Notice how you feel. She is learning control and surrender. She is learning to belong." By mid-afternoon, my legs were trembling, my back aching, my mind dizzy. Yet the applause, the attention, the subtle compliments, it was intoxicating. Every time someone called her beautiful, every time someone lingered on her eyes or smile, a strange, illicit pleasure surged through me. The boy I had been was shrinking, fading, becoming almost imaginary. Later, as the crowd dispersed, he leaned close. Today was just the beginning. She learned attention, admiration, and humiliation. Tomorrow, she will learn desire, submission, and dependence. She will not resist. She cannot. I shivered, both from exhaustion and from the thrill coursing through me. Alone in the restroom afterward, I stared at the mirror. The girl in the reflection, fragile, beautiful, trembling, and radiant, was undeniably hers. I traced her soft cheeks, wide eyes, and flushed lips with trembling fingers. The boy I had been was a shadow, almost forgotten, almost irrelevant. The girl I had become pulsed inside me with a dangerous, addictive energy. The apartment felt unusually warm, almost suffocating, as I prepared for today. My reflection in the mirror stared back, flawless and delicate, yet trembling. The girl in the reflection, soft cheeks, wide eyes, gentle lips, perfectly styled hair, was no longer just a disguise. She was becoming a part of me, a part one could no longer separate from the boy I had been. He arrived promptly, calm and commanding, yet there was a new softness in his eyes today, a subtle promise of temptation. "Today," he murmured as he guided me toward the city, "she faces the final lesson. Desire and surrender. She will feel it fully." I swallowed hard, heart hammering, legs trembling. The heels clicked against the floor as we entered the boutique he had prepared. Mirrors lined the walls, reflecting me endlessly. Each reflection seemed to deepen the tension inside me, hers, mine, and the dangerous blur between them. He handed me a delicate dress, silk and lace, hugging every curve. "Wear this," he said softly. "It will show her and him exactly who she is." I slipped into the dress, feeling the fabric cling to my body, soft against my skin, shaping me, defining her. The reflection in the mirror left me breathless. She looked radiant, fragile, and impossibly feminine. My pulse quickened. The thrill, the fear, the desire, all coiled together. We stepped into the streets. Today, the public wasn't just observers, they were participants. Strangers, colleagues, and a few familiar faces lingered, their gazes tracing every movement. Compliments, whispers, subtle smiles. They surrounded her, intensified her presence, and made my chest ache with both humiliation and forbidden excitement. Then he introduced someone new, an elegant young man, attentive, polite, and confident. His eyes met mine, or hers, and lingered, appreciative and curious. My body reacted instantly. Heat surged to my cheeks, my legs trembled, my chest tightened. The boy inside me tried to protest, tried to retreat, but the girl I had become leaned into the attention, flushed and trembling, aching with a strange, illicit thrill. "He notices her," he whispered, fingers brushing lightly against my arm. "Notice how it makes you feel. She will learn what it means to desire and to surrender." Every word, every touch, every subtle glance he orchestrated deepened the tension inside me. Humiliation mingled with excitement, shame tangled with thrill. I laughed lightly at the young man's comments, my voice high and feminine, trembling yet sweet. Every movement, every glance, every small smile was a surrender, a step deeper into her dependence on him. By evening, I was trembling, flushed, and exhausted. Alone in the elevator afterward, I stared at the mirror. The girl's reflection, delicate, radiant, and alive, was undeniably hers. The boy I had been felt distant, almost forgotten. A whisper escaped my lips, soft, fragile, trembling. I can't go back, can I?" His words echoed in my mind from earlier that day. She will learn to crave it, to desire it, to become herself fully, and she will not resist. The truth pressed against me, intoxicating and terrifying. I didn't want to resist. I didn't want to return. I wanted this, her, him. The day felt heavy, thick with anticipation. My reflection in the mirror stared back, flawless, delicate, and trembling. The girl I had become, soft cheeks, wide, expressive eyes, perfectly styled hair, and a fragile elegance, was ready. Or, at least, I thought she was. He arrived with that same calm, commanding presence, but today, his eyes held something new, the certainty that she would be tested, that her surrender would be complete. "Today," he murmured softly, guiding me toward the downtown plaza, "she faces her final lesson. Every gaze, every whisper, every moment is hers. She will be seen, judged, and she will accept it. Fully." My chest tightened, legs trembling under the weight of heels I had grown painfully accustomed to. The skirt swayed around my hips, the blouse hugged my shoulders, and the silk lining of my stockings reminded me of every step, every practice, every humiliation endured. As we entered the plaza, the crowd seemed endless. Shoppers, office workers, tourists, all eyes inadvertently found her. Whispers, subtle glances, and pointed smiles assaulted me from every direction. My stomach twisted, my face flushed, and yet a small, forbidden thrill ran through me with every acknowledgement. "Walk," he instructed softly. "She is hers. She is seen. She is admired. And she will learn to own it." Each step felt deliberate, painful, and yet exhilarating. I stumbled once, and his hand brushed against mine, steadying me, tilting my chin upward. I felt my pulse race, cheeks burning, heart hammering, not just from humiliation, but from a strange, addictive thrill. Then he guided me to the front of the plaza, where a small stage had been set. Music played softly, and he gestured for me to step up. The crowd hushed, all attention now on me. I felt exposed, every movement scrutinized. My breath caught, legs trembling, lips quivering. A man in the front row whispered, "She's stunning." Heat surged through my cheeks. My chest tightened. Embarrassment and excitement warred inside me. The girl I had become leaned into the attention, smiling softly, trembling, yet radiating delicate elegance. He guided me through each step, correcting posture, tilting my chin, smoothing my hands. Every motion, every glance, every word was orchestrated. I could feel the boy I had been shrinking, fading, almost irrelevant, replaced entirely by her, delicate, beautiful, and vulnerable. During the demonstration, a familiar face appeared, someone who had known me before all of this began. Recognition flashed in their eyes, shock, confusion, and intrigue mingling. My stomach twisted. My cheeks burned. The old self I had clung to felt like a distant memory. "Notice how it feels," he whispered, brushing a soft hand against my arm. "She is hers. She is wanted. She is beautiful. And she will not resist." By the end of the demonstration, I was trembling, flushed, exhausted, but alive in a way I had never imagined. The applause, the attention, the subtle admiration, it was intoxicating. The boy I had been felt further away than ever. Alone afterward, I stared at the mirror. The girl's wide, flushed eyes reflected back. Every curve, every movement, every blush whispered her presence. The boy was gone, or at least, lost in the layers of silk, makeup, and submission. The morning sunlight poured softly through the blinds, but it couldn't illuminate the storm raging inside me. My reflection in the mirror stared back, flawless, delicate, and radiant, but the girl I had become wasn't just a reflection anymore. She was real. Every curve, every feature, every gesture, hers. I dressed carefully, every movement deliberate. The silk blouse hugged my shoulders, the skirt swayed gracefully, the heels forced careful steps, and the makeup highlighted the feminine features I had come to inhabit fully. The girl I had become trembled with anticipation, fear, and forbidden excitement. He entered quietly, calm and commanding as always, yet there was a subtle softness in his eyes. "Today," he said, "she must decide. To resist or to surrender completely. She will face herself, and the choice will be hers." We walked together through the city, every eye finding her. Compliments, lingering glances, subtle smiles, they washed over me, each one reinforcing the delicate, radiant presence I had become. My pulse raced, cheeks flushed, chest tight. Finally, he guided me to a quiet rooftop overlooking the city skyline. The wind played gently with my hair, and the horizon stretched endlessly before me. Alone with him, the world's gaze softened, leaving only the internal struggle, raw and exposed. "Look at her," he whispered, gesturing to my reflection in the glass wall beside us. "See what she has become. See what you have become." I stared, trembling. The girl in the reflection, soft, flushed, beautiful, fragile, and radiant, was undeniably hers. The boy I had been felt distant, almost imaginary. Yet a part of me clung desperately to him, to the safety of the old identity, to the familiarity of resistance. "You've learned everything," he continued, voice low and commanding. "The attention, the desire, the admiration, the surrender, and now, she will decide. Will she run? Or will she embrace herself fully?" Tears pricked my eyes. My chest ached. Every lesson, every humiliation, every moment of thrill, every step of submission had brought me here. The temptation, the attention, the forbidden pleasure. I had tasted it all, and now it pulsed through me, addictive and intoxicating. I sank to the floor, trembling, soft sobs escaping me. I don't know who I am anymore." He knelt beside me, gentle yet commanding, brushing a strand of hair from my face. "She is yours. She is real. And you will decide who lives now. The boy or the girl?" Every memory of resistance, every fleeting thought of escape, every pang of shame collided with the thrill of being seen, desired, admired, beautiful. My fingers traced my soft cheeks, lips, and delicate jawline, and I realized that I didn't want to return. The girl inside me had grown stronger, radiant, and intoxicatingly real. Finally, I whispered, voice trembling but resolute. I want to be her. Fully. Completely." He smiled softly, eyes glinting with satisfaction. "Then she is yours. And she will never be lost again." A shiver of release and exhilaration ran through me. The wind brushed against my cheeks, carrying away the last fragments of the boy I had been. The girl I had become, fragile, radiant, beautiful, stood fully, trembling yet confident, finally embracing the life that had been forced, shaped, and nurtured inside her. The morning light felt warmer now, softer, embracing me as I looked into the mirror. My reflection was no longer a stranger. Soft cheeks, flushed lips, delicate eyes, graceful posture. All of her, all of me, fully real. The girl I had become was not a mask anymore. She was my life, my presence, my identity. He entered with his usual calmness, but there was no urgency in his eyes today. Only quiet approval. "She is ready," he said softly. "To live, to thrive, to be seen. Fully." I smiled, a soft, genuine smile, feeling the silk of my blouse, the sway of my skirt, the delicate click of my heels. Everything about me, hers, was now natural, confident, and undeniably captivating. Walking out into the city, I felt the eyes of strangers, colleagues, and friends trace her every movement. Compliments floated, subtle smiles lingered, and every glance affirmed her presence. Yet now, unlike before, I was not trembling with embarrassment. I was exhilarated, confident, alive. At the cafe, the young man from before approached again. His smile was warm, eyes lingering on hers. I felt a flutter in my chest, a mixture of excitement and curiosity. Unlike before, I did not hesitate. I returned his smile, graceful, poised, yet trembling with the thrill of new interaction. "You've changed," he said softly, voice full of intrigue. "She's beautiful." My cheeks flushed, lips curving into a smile. "Thank you," I whispered. And for the first time, I meant it, not the girl as a disguise, but her as a real, radiant presence. The streets became my stage, the city my audience. Each step was deliberate, every glance playful yet controlled. People noticed her, admired her, and yet she moved through the world confidently, embracing every bit of attention, every whisper of admiration. He watched from a distance, proud yet subtle. No words needed. I had learned, grown, transformed, and accepted. Every lesson, every step, every humiliation, every thrill had led here, to full self-acceptance, full embodiment, full life. At night, alone in the apartment, I stared at the mirror once more. The girl's reflection smiled softly, delicate and radiant. My heart swelled. I was hers, her fully, completely, unreservedly. And yet, I had never felt more alive, more complete, more undeniably myself. A knock on the door drew me away. The young man stood there, flowers in hand, eyes soft and curious. "I wanted to see you," he said, voice gentle. "You are incredible." I laughed softly, feeling warmth in my chest. "Thank you," I said, stepping closer. Me was radiant, confident, yet still fragile enough to feel every emotion, every flutter, every thrill. He smiled, extending a hand. "May I?" I took it, heart racing, pulse quickening. The girl I had become had stepped fully into the world, embraced attention, desire, and admiration, and now, perhaps, even love. Life had settled into a rhythm, but it was far from ordinary. The girl I had become moved through the office and city streets with grace and confidence, yet every encounter carried a thrill, a tension, a reminder of the transformation that had claimed me. Kavanaugh's eyes followed me quietly, subtle approval hidden behind his calm authority. "She is hers," he whispered once, when I struggled with a difficult client interaction. "But remember, admiration can be a trap and temptation a lesson." That afternoon, while arranging files in the front office, a new male intern arrived, confident, polite, and curious. His eyes lingered longer than necessary, admiration hidden beneath a professional smile. My chest tightened, cheeks flushed. The girl in the reflection leaned into it, heart racing, pulse quickening. I didn't expect to see you like this," he said softly. His tone carried both surprise and fascination. I laughed lightly, adjusting my skirt, smoothing my blouse. "Neither did I admitted, voice higher than usual, delicate, feminine, and trembling slightly. Kavanaugh watched silently from the corner. His subtle smirk hinted at the lesson I didn't yet fully understand. Desire could be a tool, humiliation a weapon, and admiration a trap. By evening, the young intern had found excuses to linger, ask questions, and share small conversations. Each word, each subtle glance, each fleeting touch of a hand as he handed me documents sent shivers down my spine. Part of me wanted to retreat, to preserve the remnants of the boy I had been. But the girl inside me leaned in, craving the attention, the thrill, the validation. Later, alone in the mirror, I traced my fingers over my flushed cheeks and soft lips. I feel things I never should, I whispered. The reflection stared back, radiant, delicate, intoxicating. She was alive in ways I could no longer deny. Kavanaugh's voice echoed in my memory. She will learn to balance desire, attention, and control. And she will thrive in her femininity. A soft knock interrupted my thoughts. The young intern had returned, hesitating at the doorway. I wanted to see if you were okay, he said, a mix of curiosity and subtle admiration in his eyes. I smiled, heart racing, and for the first time, I felt the exhilaration of being admired, truly, deeply, and dangerously. The girl had taken over completely, yet the lessons of control and submission lingered, threading through every movement, every glance, every word. The city was alive with movement, sunlight bouncing off glass buildings, people rushing past in a blur. I walked confidently, or at least tried to, heels clicking, skirt swaying, lips tinted delicately, hair perfectly styled. Every step reminded me of how far I had come, how completely the girl had replaced the boy I had been. Kavanaugh had insisted I accompany him to a client luncheon, claiming it was a test of composure and public presence. But the moment I entered the room, I realized it was more than that. Every glance from strangers, every subtle compliment from colleagues, made my pulse race. My chest tightened. I flushed under the weight of observation, humiliation, and something else, something deliciously forbidden. The young intern from the office appeared there as well, assigned by Kavanaugh to observe. His eyes lingered on me longer than polite protocol would allow, admiration and curiosity mixed with a hint of longing. My heartbeat quickened, cheeks burning. "Good morning," I said softly, voice higher, trembling slightly, but there was confidence underneath the fragility. He smiled, lingering. "You look incredible." I swallowed, the words striking a delicate chord within me. The girl I had become reveled in attention, craving it, while the boy's instinct to retreat and protect himself struggled against the thrill. Every whispered compliment, every lingering gaze, every small touch of a hand as documents were passed, fueled an intoxicating cocktail of embarrassment and exhilaration. Later, outside the restaurant, Kavanaugh guided me subtly through the crowd, observing my reactions. "Notice how desire affects her," he murmured, his hand brushing lightly against my arm. "She will learn to balance power, attention, and submission. And she will thrive." I felt the weight of the heels, the sway of the skirt, the softness of my lips against the cool wind, and I realized I wanted it all. The attention, the admiration, the subtle thrill. The girl was alive and commanding her presence in the world, yet every glance, every smirk from the intern reminded me that desire had a price. The young intern walked beside me for a moment, his proximity almost unbearable. You carry yourself so beautifully," he whispered. The warmth of his words and the nearness of his body made my knees tremble. I bit my lip, heart racing, eyes fixed on the ground before daring to meet his gaze. The girl inside me leaned into the attention, savoring it, craving it, while the boy's remnants trembled quietly, unsure if they could survive this intoxicating surrender. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the plaza where I now walked. Every step in my heels echoed like a heartbeat, each sway of my skirt emphasizing a femininity I had once thought impossible. The girl in the mirror had become real, alive, fragile, radiant, and completely mine. Kavanaugh followed silently, his presence calm but commanding. "Today, she will be tested," he murmured. "Not for skill, but for surrender." A crowd had gathered, curious passers-by drawn to the quiet elegance I now radiated. I felt their attention like a tangible weight pressing against my shoulders, chest, and heart. Every stare was a challenge, every whisper a temptation, every smirk a test. The young intern appeared again, standing a few feet away. His gaze lingered, admiration mixed with something deeper. Curiosity, desire, fascination. My cheeks burned, pulse racing, and I realized the depth of my addiction to attention. "Walk to me," Kavanaugh instructed, voice low and firm. "Feel their eyes. Let her exist fully. Let her surrender." Each step felt deliberate, purposeful, and torturous. The plaza became my stage, the crowd my audience. Whispered compliments reached my ears. "She's so beautiful. Look at her grace. Wow." I wanted to look away, retreat, escape the attention, but the girl inside me leaned into it, trembling yet radiant, intoxicated by every glance. The intern approached cautiously. I didn't expect her to be so alive," he stammered. Heat surged through me. I bit my lip, heart hammering, feeling every inch of my femininity exposed. The thrill, embarrassment, and desire collided violently within me. The boy I had been shrank further, fading with every heartbeat, leaving only her, delicate, vulnerable, and completely surrendered. Kavanaugh's hand rested lightly on my back, guiding me subtly. She is hers. Every look, every word, every reaction belongs to her now. The plaza seemed to disappear. Only their attention, the wind brushing my hair, the sway of my skirt, and the soft click of my heels existed. I trembled, flushed, and yet a deep thrill surged through me, a mixture of embarrassment, exhilaration, and desire I could no longer deny. Finally, alone for a moment, I turned to the intern. His smile was soft, genuine, and awe-filled. You're incredible," he said. I swallowed, feeling every nerve alive. "Thank you," I whispered. The girl I had become leaned into his admiration, savoring it, craving it. Every glance, every word, every fluttering heartbeat confirmed her presence in the world, and mine in her skin. Weeks had passed since my full surrender. Every day, the girl I had become moved through the office, city streets, and social spaces with increasing confidence. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was internal. Every glance, every whisper, every compliment became addictive, reinforcing her presence and dissolving the remnants of the boy I had been. The young intern, now a frequent presence in my life, approached me at lunch with a soft smile. I feel like I'm seeing you for the first time," he said, his eyes holding curiosity and something deeper. I felt my chest tighten. "And who are you seeing?" I whispered, voice trembling yet confident. "Hers," he replied softly. "The girl you've become, she's incredible." Heat surged through me, cheeks flushing. The thrill of admiration, desire, and validation collided violently inside, making every heartbeat a drum of exhilaration. I realized I had grown addicted, not just to attention, but to being fully seen, fully admired, fully alive in this form. Kavanaugh watched from a distance, subtle and commanding as ever. His lessons had gone beyond heels, skirts, and makeup. They had taught surrender, desire, control, and the intoxicating power of being desired. Later, outside the cafe, I caught sight of myself in a reflective window. The girl staring back was radiant, poised, and breathtaking. I reached out instinctively, fingers brushing the glass. "Is this really me?" I whispered. The answer came in the curve of my lips, the tilt of my chin, the delicate sway of my hips.
"Yes."
She is me and I am hers. But just as confidence surged, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I know who you really were, and who you've become. Be careful. Some truths are dangerous." My stomach twisted. The crowd around me seemed to blur. My heels felt heavier, skirts swaying nervously as adrenaline surged. The girl I had embraced, radiant and powerful, now faced a shadow from the past, a threat that could undo everything.